Hello and welcome, Badger families. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Stephanie Benson-Gonzalez. My pronouns are she and her, and I direct the Parent and Family Program at UW-Madison. As you might know, our office serves as a central resource for all Badger parents and families. We offer a variety of events and services, including this Badger Family Forum series. So whether you're joining us live or you're watching this event at a later time, we really appreciate you being here and certainly for all you do to support your student. I also want to thank our partners at the McBurney Disability Resource Center for providing live professional captioning for today's event. You can find the link for captioning in the video description below. So in conjunction with the celebration of National Career Development Month, this Badger Family Forum will overview career services on campus. Our panelists will discuss campus resources, career exploration, job search strategies, and more. Today, we are joined by a wonderful team of campus career services experts who will help answer your questions and share how you can support your students. So with that, I'm going to begin by introducing them, and then we will start with our first question shortly. I'll start with Tara. Tara Milliken is UW's Director of Institutional Career Services and Strategy and provides leadership through strategy and coordination work with all of the career services units, which you'll hear more about, and campus leadership. Molly Reinhard is the Director of Pre-Professional Advising, which includes the Center for Pre-Law Advising and the Center for Pre-Health Advising. Michelle Jackson is the Director of the Career Exploration Center, a resource that supports undergraduate students who are exploring their major, career, and/or academic goals. And Jamie Macias is the Director of Career Services and Strategy in the School of Education, where they offer a wide variety of services to students and alumni through advising, events, career fairs, workshops, and more. So I just want to say before we begin, thank you to everyone who submitted questions for today's event in advance of our session. If you have a question during our program today, please feel free to submit them in the comments section of the Facebook feed. If we're not able to answer it live today, you can always contact our office. Please reach out to the Parent and Family Program. You can contact us through our website at parent.wis.edu. And as always, we are here to be a resource. So with that, let's get started. And in fact, our topic is really, I think, related to getting started. Tara, I think I want to begin with you, and then Molly, I'll come to you for the next question. But Tara, I guess I'm just wondering if you could set the stage for us a little bit. Something that I sometimes talk with parents about that they're trying to discern is sort of the what exactly is career advising? We know it's important. We know we're interested in it. We know it's an outcome that we're all sort of have a lot of energy around. But how is it defined? How would you think about this differently than academic advising?
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. I really appreciate this question. And I think it's a good one because most high schools might not have something like career advising. They might have a school counselor that is sort of doing both academic and career support. But when students get to college, and especially here at UW-Madison, they have options. So the academic advisor is an important part of that, who's going to help students ensure that they are making progress on their academic journey, that they know what courses they need to take, and that they have the support to succeed academically. And the career advisor really complements that and helps students think about how do they want to be successful in their careers, both during their time at UW-Madison and beyond. So we help with things like, resumes, cover letters, networking, looking for an internship, thinking about graduate school and how they might choose to apply to those programs, even something like negotiating offers. So really the full breadth of, the career journey for a student and how that might tie to their academic goals. But we're sort of helping students to make sense of, I'm doing this academic work. Now, what does that mean for me and what I want to do during my time at UW-Madison related to my career and beyond?
Thanks, Tara. That's I think, really helpful groundwork for us to kind of think about as we move through the questions. I think a natural follow-up to that question sometimes is, how do students find a career advisor? Students are assigned an academic advisor. And so what does that process look like? And Molly, too, I feel like when it's sort of like how to find them and when to find them. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks, Tara, for getting us started. I'll share a website with you that is a great starting point to learn about the different types of career advising that we have on campus. It is careers.wisc.edu. And this is a great place to start to explore who can you meet with. We have a really great system, a network of advisors across campus, academic, career, who are here to help you and your students, no matter where they're at in their career exploration or decision-making process. So we have an interesting structure where we have centralized resources that are available to all students across campus. And my 2 units are some of those. So the Center for Pre-Health and Pre-Law Advising, the Career Exploration Center, Michelle Jackson is here, the director of that resource. So for students who are across campus, it does not matter which school or college they are in, they can access those resources. Also, all schools and colleges have their own specific career services units to help with broad career development, resume building, job and internship search. And the students within that particular school and college have direct access to those resources and advisors as well. So if that's in the School of Education, Jamie is the director of that unit, School of Letters and College of Letters and Science, business, you all have your own specific resource as well. So careers.wisc.edu is a great place to start to identify, to think about your own interests. Where are you at? Are you exploring? Would you benefit from meeting with a career exploration center advisor? Are you in a particular school and college and you have a major and you're really thinking about what can my resume look like to apply for a job that I found on Handshake, which is one of our platforms that often jobs and internships are posted on. Perhaps you'll then be meeting directly with your school and college career services advisor. So it can be overwhelming. We have a lot of different resources on campus. One of the best ways to start besides that website is actually your academic advisor. You know, we talked about the difference between the two, but every student on campus is assigned to an academic advisor and their role is to be a connector. So when in doubt, make an appointment with your academic advisor and talk to them about what are your needs, what are your interests, and what resources are available within career services. They will be able to point you in the right direction. So the website and your academic advisor would be a great place to start. And you can start right away accessing career advising on campus. Career Exploration Center is a wonderful place to start, get a lay of the land of careers. There are events, workshops, one-on-one advising appointments that you can have. It's never too early to meet with a career advisor to talk about your interests, how you can explore, network, have informational interviews with professionals in fields that you're interested in, and then all down the line while you're ready to start applying for those internships and those full-time jobs after graduation. This is a freshman through senior, and in terms of pre-health and pre-law, alumni resource as well. We serve in pre-health and pre-law alumni, no time limit.
That's really helpful to think about. And a couple thoughts, Molly, were going through my mind. And Michelle, I like your perspective because I feel like you might sometimes be more at that intersection, perhaps of that feeling of overwhelm or processing. But I was thinking, Molly, of what you were saying about having a lot of available resources. And I think for many students, that is helpful and exciting because there's different places of expertise you can sample. And there's also tailored resources depending on your area of focus. And there's such benefit to that. And then Molly, I was also thinking about your point about, being able to start early in any time. It's not just something that you need to start thinking about later in your career, but it really can go hand in hand with that academic advising piece.
Yeah.
And I'll know we'll talk more in this chat too about some of that intersection of major and career and how you all think about that and might want students to think about that. And I know then sometimes that can increase feelings of anxiety because you feel like, am I too late? Did I start at the right time? Which resource do I go to? What if that one didn't quite click? What if I don't know the answer yet? And so I'm thinking about that, Michelle, and I'm imagining that you have seen that show up before in your work. And I was wondering, maybe from more of an advice perspective, what would you recommend families talk about with their students if they are feeling overwhelmed by the process or they're maybe not sure where to start?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. So I want to reiterate what Molly said. Students can connect with their career advising offices and advisors right away, and also you don't have to connect right away. So kind of getting at Stephanie's question there, it's never too early and it's never too late. And we want you to connect with us as soon as you're ready to. And this sense of overwhelm is really pervasive. A lot of students feel that way. Because for a lot of reasons, students feel like they have to have it all figured out right away. So if you hear anything from me today, I hope that you'll hear and take away you don't have to have it all figured out right away. Most students do not have it all figured out right away. So an important thing to remember is that kind of career development is a lifelong process, right? So we are not going to solve your life journey right away, and your career journey is going to take a lot of different turns between that first job out of college and then other careers that you'll move into over time. And so our goal in career services is to help prepare you to have success and find that job out of college or move into that professional program right out of college that you're really excited about and feels like a great fit. And also, we're trying to prepare you to continue to maneuver and navigate career development and career changes over time. And so just know that it's a process and that it will take time. And the more you get involved and the more experiences you kind of rack up and have under your belt through different ways of engaging in college, whether that's your coursework or a student organization, a part-time job, a summer job, an internship, so many different ways that you'll get involved during your time in college, those experiences will help you learn more about yourself, learn more about the world of work, and learn more about how you want to show up in work. What kind of careers are you interested in? What kind of roles are you interested in? What industries do you want to be a part of? All of these experiences that you'll gather over time as a student at UW-Madison will help clarify that picture a little bit for you. And your career advising team, right? We want you to think of us as a team. There's a lot of us that you can connect with. We'll support you in reflecting on all of those experiences and figuring out what you're learning about yourself in the world of work from those experiences. And one thing that is one of the many really amazing things about UW-Madison is that we have 2 home offices for students who are exploring, right? And a lot of students will kind of move in and out of exploring over time. So early on, you might be exploring major options, and then you feel like you're decided or you declare a major, and then you'll be exploring career ideas. And then you'll discover something new that piques your interest, and you'll want to explore something new that you hadn't thought of before. And so we have 2 offices, my office, the Career Exploration Center, as well as our sister office, Cross College Advising Service. And so Cross College Advising Service, or CCAS, those are academic advisors that focus on supporting exploring students. And then there's my office, the Career Exploration Center, and we focus on helping students explore anything and everything related to their career ideas and goals. So it's really wonderful that you have a home and a place to go when you're exploring and thinking through the pros and cons and the exciting things and the slightly scary things, and we'll help you navigate next steps and always get you to the next best place.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. I know that I think too that context has sparked some live parent questions from families who are chiming in with the chat. And so, Jamie, I'm thinking about a question I was planning to ask you, but then maybe also adding something from a parent question as well. So I know we've talked a little bit about the timing of career advising. So maybe on the subject of timing, one parent question was, how easy is it to set up a meeting with a career advisor once a student decides to set up that meeting? And I'm thinking about sometimes and I'm wondering if the question is informed by this, we often talk with parents and families about sort of busy enrollment times and, expectations around when they should maybe consider meeting with an advisor. And part of me is thinking that cadence might be different with career advisors. So I'm thinking about that timing and what students might want to expect and plan for. And then there's also this follow-up piece of a student is between 2 different career paths, thinking about how that happens and how they might be guided and when they should think about the timing to talk about that.
Yes, those are great questions. Thanks for submitting those, Badger family. So, in terms of the timing question, I think as my colleagues have iterated, it's never too early to start meeting with a career advisor, even if the student isn't really clear on what questions they even want to begin asking. We are all prepared as career advisors to be able to engage with students. We want to build that relationship with them, and then hopefully build that relationship through various meetings over time. Also, just want to iterate too that we have multiple types of people involved in career advising our students. So sometimes it is a professional career and internship advisor. Sometimes it actually might be a career peer advisor. So a fellow student who maybe has gone through the process a few steps ahead, who is sharing kind of peer to peer with students what they navigated. That can feel a little bit more accessible to students, especially if they don't have all of their questions determined from the jump. In terms of timing, we definitely see some peaks and valleys in the career services kind of cycle, and it really just depends on where the student is at. So if a student wants to get in for exploration related questions with the Career Exploration Center, with Molly's team, and with her homeschool, college career center, I would say they're going to use a platform called Starfish in most cases. Some offices use different tools. Typically offices will have availability for appointments either with a professional staff or with a student, within a week's time frame, I would say on average. I would say that our busiest season in career services is typically that September, October timeframe when a lot of employers are starting to come to campus to post positions, maybe want to talk to students through events like career fairs. Maybe they're coming to campus to host an informational event, sometimes with student organizations. So that really is a peak time for us. We see that be a little bit more steady across November and December. And then we see that pick up again in the start of the spring semester, and then it kind of settles out. So each industry, each school, college, each field has a bit of a different time frame. But the point is that we do have enough resources on this campus where students can meet with their advisors.
Yes, Jamie, I'm glad you reiterated that part too about having enough resources so that students can access those resources, and thinking about something I think Molly might have said earlier about that person really is a connector. That's part of their role. And it doesn't have to sort of just be in sort of that area of a particular course enrollment or career question, but that it can be sort of thinking about their whole student experience too. So thanks for letting folks know that there's the resources to do that. And I think that's something too, when I speak with families or even hear about sort of their students' perception, that's not a burden. That's our whole jobs. Like there are teams of people whose whole jobs are to support students. That's what we do. That's why we're here. And we want folks to be able to know about and access those resources too. I mentioned that we were getting some live questions. So before we shift topics a little bit, going a bit deeper with the career and major piece, which we got submitted questions about in advance as well. Tara, could I come to you with a quick data question that came in live? There was a question regarding where students can find data or metrics in thinking about career-related information. So that might be current salaries, that might be related to things employers are looking for. Do you have a take on sort of the data piece around career exploration?
Yeah, I love this question. We spend a lot of time thinking about data and how does that inform the work that we're doing in career services here at UW-Madison. So one area that I will point parents, families, and students to is some of the work that our colleagues in the Office of Data, Academic Planning, and Institutional Research, which is a big long name, called DAPR. They help us collect first destination survey information. And the first destination survey is just helping us better understand where are our Badgers going right after graduation. So are they seeking full-time employment? Are they continuing their education for graduate or professional school? Are they still seeking, but have they received offers? All of those things like that. This is also a space where we start collecting information about, have students completed internships? Have they completed volunteering or research or other experiential learning opportunities? And so that information, I believe we're going to put the link in the chat, but it is on the data.wisc.edu website. And there is a special link for post-graduation outcomes or first destination. Now, that's sort of the big picture story of data here at UW-Madison and Career Services. We are working on the process of getting even more granular data about what are students' internship experiences like, How are our students completing internship experiences? When and where is that happening? But for a student who might be just wondering, what kind of employers are students with my major or career interest going into? Typically, your career advisor or your career services unit within your school, college, or the area that you're interested in is going to have some of that data. They might have some hard data that they've collected from employers around, hey, these are the kinds of students that we're looking for. Here are skills that we're really interested in, or here are the experiences that we are hoping that students might have before they apply for our internship or our full-time positions. So I would really encourage students, once they start to figure out, here are some specific questions I have about my career path, about opportunities within my career path, to connect with their career advisor who can help them sort through and make some sense of that information. We have some of that information as well through Handshake, which has already been mentioned as one of our big job search platforms here at UW-Madison. But again, because our offices have that relationship with employers who are interested in hiring UW-Madison students, they're also going to be able to provide both some of that hard data and information, as well as some anecdotal data about, here's what our students should be looking for, here are some considerations, and here are skills they should build if they're interested in a particular career path.
Thank you, Tara. And I'm holding on to that last part of what you said too, which was related to skill building in relation to career and major development. And that ties into some of the questions that were submitted in advance. So there's a few of them that I'm going to ask, but I'll preface by saying the overall sort of theme was some concern or question about the equation of a major to a career. And so I have two maybe like opposite side of the coin questions related to that topic. And Michelle, I'll come to you first. And this one's a little bit more about maybe marketing your major or thinking about that skill development piece. But a parent submitted this one to us in advance of this event. They wrote, how to help kids with humanities majors that are well-rounded and educated, but not studying a traditional career-focused path like business or engineering. Most companies train their new hires, but getting interviews can be hard. How can we help them so they stay on the right path? Do you have thoughts around that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And one thing that I kind of want to remind the group here is that out of 130 plus majors at UW-Madison, most of our majors fall within that umbrella of the liberal arts and sciences, right? So most of our majors are not preparing students for one very specific career or role. And so we have this conversation with students all the time around, and it's important for students who are studying the humanities, right, or liberal arts and sciences, to spend some time working with their career advising support teams to reflect on career around what's important to them, what kind of skills they have, what kind of skills they want to build, and how those pieces apply to the world of work and different careers and different industries that are out there and of interest to them. And so that marketing kind of language, that really hits the nail on the head. We will work with students over time to help them kind of understand making that connection. So first, students need to understand what they bring to the table, what their skills and expertise and experiences are, and how those are meaningful and how they apply to the world of work, and help students be able to articulate that themselves to employers and that folks and other folks they're going to network with, and when they're applying for jobs and internships and other opportunities. So all kind of career advising team members, career service folks are really skilled in helping students you develop that language, right? To say, I've completed X coursework, or I've done these projects, or I had this summer job, and here's what I learned from that. Here are the skills I developed, and here's how it's going to help me be successful or be a strong candidate for X, Y, and Z opportunity that I might be looking to gain access to later on. And so I guess the big takeaway there is to remind your student and have conversations routinely that are somewhat reflective around, okay, you have this experience, you participated in this volunteer opportunity, or you're a couple semesters into your major. What are you learning? What have you gained so far? What skills do you think you might need to grow or develop further in order to bridge the gap between academic work and careers or roles that could be interesting to you later on or when you graduate?
Thank you, Michelle. It made me think about a few things. And one thing I was just reflecting on too was how career development is an ongoing process. It doesn't stop at college. We're all doing it right now. And then I was also thinking about, for any fellow humanities majors out there, I also have a major in the humanities, and I've loved that, because there is no major called Director of Parent and Family Program that is not an exact track. And I think there's a benefit to have that flexibility. And of course, this is individual, right? It depends on what works best for you. That's the heart of it all. But just to say, it's ongoing. It's not one and done. And I really appreciated what you talked about related to that skill development piece, and being able to kind of know your own story and be able to both talk about that and also reflect on it too throughout the process. Jamie, we received similar questions, but it was sort of the other side of the coin. And I'm thinking about this too, because you specifically have this angle within the School of Education too. But we did get some questions to say, like, well, if my student's picking a really specific major, I'm worried about how that might lock them in too. So one parent wrote in about, my student's political science, like, I guess they'd go to law school, or, someone else was like, my student's an engineer, or, so I guess that's the only way forward forever, or, is in education. So I'm wondering if you could talk about that end of things and how we might think about that in student career development.
Absolutely. It's a great question. I think it's something we all think about. So I have good news for all of you out there. I think most of the employer partners that we work with across campus, the way that they think about hiring and onboarding talent has really shifted away from thinking about students in majors, really towards that sort of skill that the student is bringing in. And again, when students are at UW-Madison, they're taking courses in their major, but they're also taking a lot of classes in other breadth requirements in the humanities and science and in all these different areas where they're building critical thinking skills, communication skills, working in teams, leadership skills to complement whatever technical or specific skills they're learning in their program. And so you can assure that every Badger is going to leave with that kind of well-roundedness that employers are looking for. So employers really are looking for, what skills can you tell us through an interview that you've demonstrated? We encourage students to obviously explore within a field of interest. So if it's political science in this example, what are some of those common pathways that students from the political science program have gone into, to really kind of have the student also do some self-awareness building around, what are my values? What do I care about? What type of impact do I want to make in my workplace and in the world? And then, are there pathways out there, whether they're directly aligned to something somebody else in my program has done, or maybe it's a completely different field, but how can I translate those skills that I've learned in my program and in my major to make me competitive or marketable in this particular field? And so a couple of ways students can really do that. Number one is meeting with their career advisor. Again, the career advisors have access to data. They have access to information for students within that major, that program, about where they've done. But they can also talk with your student a little bit more about their unique interests, skills, values, maybe their identities or their background that are salient to them as they think about what they want to do. And then we host a number of different types of experiences to explore. So whether it's attending a workshop where there's a panel of alumni from a specific field talking about, what is this field, maybe like international affairs or consulting, or maybe somebody wants to go into educational policy. I could talk about that for days. We have alumni who can talk to students in a very informal way about what they do every day, how this work adds value to the world, how it makes meaning for them. And oftentimes students will get excited and motivated if they're taking the time to explore those pathways. So really encourage your student to take advantage of those types of programs. We also take students offsite to do what we call career tracks, where they're going to see what it's like to work in a job in a particular day for maybe a one-day period of time. So there's some low stakes engagements that happen throughout the year. And then obviously as they get further into their academic experience, doing more internships or co-ops or apprenticeships, whatever that immersive experience is, will really kind of help them solidify what they do. And oftentimes major does not equal the career path.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that perspective also. And then I feel like I'm going down in layers, like, so even more granularly. Molly, I'm sure you get questions about this, particularly thinking about students who are really considering some of their undergraduate preparatory work for sort of that next academic step for themselves. A submitted question that we got in advance of the event was, do you provide resources to help a student who is considering law school? I think we could also mention, med school in that category too. Do you assist with helping students explore what careers they could pursue with a specific degree, like a law degree?
Yes, absolutely. We do. And we do. I think I want to reiterate, well, really everything that other panelists have said about just the personalized support that students are going to get across campus, that there are many different types of resources across campus to support career development, career preparation, whether it is towards law school, towards a health professional program, towards engineering, to education. The career preparation and exploration process is multifaceted, right? So there, as humans, we really need to have a broad array of resources and experiences to help us along this way. So we do have specific resources on campus, dedicated support for students who are curious about pursuing law school, as well as health professional programs. And I'm the director of those resources. We have the Center for Pre-Law Advising and the Center for Pre-Health Advising. And these are entire offices dedicated to providing expert advice, guidance on preparing for, selecting, and applying to either law schools or, on the pre-health side, graduate level professional programs. But the other thing that we do is we help make connections, help connect students with additional on and off campus resources and experiences that will help them along the way. UW-Madison is it's a special place with really dedicated career development and academic support resources that are going to be there to help a student connect with alumni, right? To access experiential learning opportunities. So Center for Pre-Law Advising, Center for Pre-Health Advising, we're the dedicated home base for students who, in all schools and colleges, all years, and alumni, no time limit, who are interested in pursuing these pathways. And also, the students will have the opportunity to work with their school and college career services units. Just as one example, SuccessWorks in the College of Letters and Science has a wonderful career community structure, and they have a colleague that we work with quite closely who works on government, international affairs, policy, and law career community work. And so we work together to put together exploratory events, connect students with professionals in the field to help them explore and confirm if this is a path that they would like to go down. We work very hard on campus to build relationships with one another and with other offices to make sure our students have what they need to reach their goals. Just one example is we have a law and policy working group on campus, which is made up of staff and program coordinators from my units, as well as the La Follette School of Public Affairs, LNS SuccessWorks, the Legal Studies Department, Political Science, History, where we come together to talk about current issues and what the needs of our students are. We have a similar committee on the pre-health side, which is the Campus Pre-Health Committee. As a campus, it is our job to make sure that students can access the coursework, the experiences, the preparation they need to explore, confirm, and pursue their goals. And CPHA, Center for Pre-Health Advising, and Center for Pre-Law Advising, we are centralized resources that will help coordinate some of these activities, and also they're going to connect with other resources across campus as well.
Thank you for that. I feel like that for me, it showed both the breadth of resources, but also the intentionality and kind of thinking about how those are delivered to students too. So that's helpful to think about both from how they're receiving it, but also in terms of how we're thinking about that coordination. I do want to move on and think about student jobs, internships. We've hinted at that a little bit, but before we do that, we did have a live question come in on our Facebook feed that I think still kind of maybe wraps up this topic or connects into it. So Michelle, if it's okay, I'm gonna pitch this live one to you. The individual wrote, you mentioned majors, but what about minors? How do employers look at a certificate or a minor? That's some of the language that we use here. Can you talk about certificates or minors or how that comes into the equation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd invite Jamie or anyone else to expand with a school college background, Jamie. So here at UW-Madison, we don't have minors, we have certificates. And for the most part, right, a certificate is similar to a major, but it's a lot less credits. And so it's not necessarily exemplifying a certain skill set or a certain career preparation component specifically, as much as it's demonstrating another focused area of interest and focused area of knowledge and background that a student might have. And so we really love certificates. We have some amazing certificates. Just a few caveats on that. Just because we have a major in something does not necessarily mean we have a certificate in it. So you'll want to double check. And we do have some really amazing certificates that we don't offer as a major. So it's always worth kind of double checking. And they're really amazing opportunities for students to kind of build a very unique academic path that represents their unique and individual interests and areas of expertise that they care to dive into. As far as the way employers look at it, again, it's not specific career preparation to have a certain certificate show up on your transcript or on your resume. But it does show, hey, I sought out this extra area of focus and was very intentional about how I built my academic path. And so that's what it signals to an employer. And just like with your major, you will develop skills and you'll learn content knowledge and you'll participate in group work and projects as part of that certificate or part of that major that, just like I was saying before, you'll have to articulate to an employer what that means and what that helps you bring to the table. So they're really amazing. They're a way to kind of help a student set themselves apart or stand out and demonstrate their kind of unique personal interests. And there's a lot of opportunities and options to think about. They are by no means necessary. They're an added bonus that students can kind of play around with and see if it makes sense to add into their undergraduate journey.
Thank you, Michelle. And Molly, did you want to add something onto that as well?
Yes, definitely. And I completely agree with Michelle. Speaking from the pre-professional side, so pre-health, pre-law, and on the pre-health side, we advise on 10 plus graduate level professional programs. Med is one of them, but also PA school, physician assistant, occupational therapy, physical therapy. There are no required majors or expected majors for these pathways. So whether it's law or going to medical school, becoming a physician assistant, there is no required major, no expected major, really no preferred major. It is about what are you getting out of, or certificates. It is about what are you getting out of your experiences and how can you speak to those experiences and what you have learned, how it has impacted the way you view the world, how you will approach your career and your future work, either as an attorney or in policy or as a healthcare provider. We talked a little bit about alternative career pathways versus law for someone majoring in political science. I want to reassure everyone and emphasize that all majors at UW-Madison can and are excellent foundations for pursuing law school, graduate school, professional school, health professional programs, and certificates can be a wonderful complement to that. I caution folks from choosing a major, a certificate, an experiential learning opportunity, or a job if they think it's going to look good to a future employer or a professional school. It will look good if you are choosing it because you are interested in it. you are actively engaging in that work, you're learning from it, and then can communicate what you have learned, how it has impacted you in your personal statements, in your interview questions. So it's all about how are you engaging in that academic and career development experience.
Yes, Molly, I'm so glad you said that, because, and actually it reminds me, we just had family weekend a couple of weeks ago, and we have a reception with the chancellor, and she gives some remarks and talks about things like academic exploration and majors. And she's also a mom herself of a college student, and had a bit of a reflection on, you don't have to have 3 majors and 2 certificates, and really, that pressure that we put on ourselves, we might want to ask about the cost benefit of that and what other things we might not be able to engage in as a result, and think about our whole experience. So I'm glad that you said that it's not sort of a race to collect many majors and certificates, though there's many available. That's not a requirement. It's really, again, going back to the self and the individual. So thank you for sharing that. I'll add to, I just want to thank everyone who's still watching us live, or if you're watching us later, thank you for being here. We have about 20 minutes left of our program together, but this is just one opportunity. It's not the end, so fear not. We're getting questions both about jobs and internships. And then also we want to wrap up in talking about broader career services, alumni connections, sort of what it looks like going forward. So we'll have time to do that over the course of the next 20 minutes. And I just want to remind you all that the Parent and Family Program is always your resource, and that you can share questions with us about any topic, including advising and career exploration. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it. And it's because we work with these excellent individuals you're seeing here on this panel, and then also with folks across campus about any topic. So just know that we're a resource, and this isn't one and done. We hope that it sparks ideas, conversation starters, and other questions you might have. And we invite you to follow up with us after this event as well. So with that in mind, I will bring us to our next topic that we've talked about a little bit. Jamie, I want to go to you with a submitted question. So in thinking about internships and career opportunities, let's talk a little bit about what that looks like to find them. And the submitted question here, Jamie, I feel like I keep asking you about timing. This is a timing question too. The submitted question is, when is the best time for my student to look for a summer internship? And what's the most useful tool to secure an internship?
Yeah, that's a great question. So before we dive into that, just want to address that most students during their time as an undergraduate student will participate in an internship in that sort of junior or third year of school typically. And the reason for that is when employers are looking for candidates for internships, they want students to have some experiences, whether it's through involvement on campus, through work experiences, et cetera, to bring to the table. But they also want them to have a little bit more of that academic learning, whether it's in their major or again, through their sort of liberal arts requirements. The skills will help the student feel a lot more confident in their internship and will help them really make a really positive impression that might also lead them to a full-time offer as a result of that. So again, some students are doing multiple internships. We have students as early as first years getting them. It really just depends on the field, but the most common time that students would do this is in their junior year of college. Now, when to secure it, I would say that the broadest answer I can give campus-wide is that it really depends on the field that the student is going into. So what we're seeing is that there's a common trend from employers across the board to want to recruit students really early. And the reason for that is they want to come to campus as soon as students move into a fresh academic year. They want to come early so that they can get at the best talent that we have to offer. So we have a campus-wide career fair that happens in September of each year that is open to all students on campus. That's a great place for students to go and start to connect with employers, maybe talk with them a little bit more about their internships or opportunities available, maybe drop a resume or sign in on one of their tracking documents where then they can be followed up with by that organization. And then a lot of times employers who are really active at UW-Madison will actually come back to campus. They might do a networking event. Maybe they'll come and do a presentation where they talk a little bit about their organization, their culture, the opportunities they have available, what they're looking for. And oftentimes they will bring Wisconsin alumni back who can really speak to, I think, resonating with where the student is at right now. They've gone through similar experiences potentially, and then can be a really good advocate for the student as they navigate through. But ultimately, I would say the best place for students to find internships that they can apply to would be through Handshake. So that is a tool that all students have access to. And think of it with hundreds of thousands of jobs, events, experiences that students can look into. The career fairs I mentioned, all of those presentations that I mentioned employers do, and then ultimately the internships, we really try to direct all of them that we become aware of to Handshake so that all of our students on campus have access to apply. So I would say that that's probably the most beneficial tool. I would encourage students, again, to access resources maybe in their home school or college or related to a specific field for specific timelines, and any nuances, preparation, things that will help the student be competitive in their field.
Thank you, Jamie. Tara, I asked you a data question before, so I'm going to go back to you with one also. Another submitted question was, how many students complete an internship?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. So based on the most recent data that we have available from that first destination survey that I mentioned earlier, we know that around 62% of our students have indicated that they completed at least one internship. We have many students that complete more than one internship. If you're like, okay, 62%, that sounds okay, but not great. Another data point that I'll share with you is that 100% of our students indicated that they completed either an internship, working at least part-time while they were a student at UW-Madison, or another volunteer opportunity. So I think the takeaway from that is we talk about internships broadly, and they are and can be really powerful experiential opportunities, but they're not the only opportunities. So depending on what your student is interested in, they might also look into research opportunities or internships here on campus through some of our on-campus student employment opportunities. We know that there are a lot of factors that influence whether or not a student feels like they have the time, the capacity, potentially even the resources or funds in order to complete an internship. That is a great thing to talk with your career advisor about. Sometimes we know that there are employers that offer unpaid or underpaid internship experiences. At UW-Madison, we're working to ensure that students who want to complete those also have the funds necessary to do so that won't harm them financially. So that is something that regardless of whether or not a student is sure whether or not an internship is right for them, it's a great reason to connect with a career advisor.
Tara, thank you for saying that and also mentioning the financial piece. Sometimes when I talk with families about internships, there's some presumption that like you have to know someone or, that they might be inaccessible because some of them are unpaid or underpaid. And so I appreciate that note. And then also the note about student employment, which we know has a lot of benefits to the student experience, both in terms of skill building, reflection, but also in finding community too. And so that piece is important and can be a really good fit for some students. And truly, if I had not been a campus tour guide, I'm curious about where I'd be. Probably not here. So that was a student job that led to that. So I appreciate the nod to student employment and other ways and volunteer work and other ways in which we can learn more about areas that we might be interested in and diving deeper into full time. Michelle, our final question on internship that was submitted was about study abroad, and can students do internships outside of the United States?
Short answer is yes, absolutely. So there are two offices that I want everyone to know about, and they work really closely together. So we have, of course, our UW Study Abroad office, and then connected to them working really closely, we actually have a unit called the International Internship Program. And so without getting too far into the weeds on what all of those things look like, there's kind of three pathways that a student can talk with advisors about and explore around what's the best option for them. So we have UW signature programs, and those are international programs, international internship programs designed specifically for UW-Madison students, right? So it's often a cohort experience. The university had a heavy hand in creating everything about that program and works in good partnership, close partnership with folks around the world. So there are those opportunities. There are also students can intern as part of a study abroad experience. So for different study abroad programs, an internship opportunity is either required or optional. And so your study abroad advisors would work with you to navigate the differences and how a student can find those programs. And then there's finding kind of an external opportunity. So students can find an opportunity on their own or work jointly with IIP or a study abroad advisor to kind of explore where certain kinds of opportunities exist, right? So if a student knows they want to intern with a very specific employer, or they want to have experience working with a very specific culture or group of people, or utilizing a certain language, or during a certain time of year, right? So those folks jointly, IIP and study abroad, they have the expertise, right? They know where the opportunities are and where the relationships are and where it might be a little bit easier for a student to find some of those opportunities. And then you would work with those advisors if you find an external opportunity, to make sure it gets approved by those offices, and that would allow the student to participate in a complimentary 3-credit course, and some other components that are important for that. And so things that I want students to know here, and parents and family to know, is that an experience abroad can be really meaningful, can really help kind of expand the way students think about the world of work, how they work with others, and just open up their ideas, their minds, and new ideas and new opportunities. And on that note, similar to what Tara was just sharing, we find it's very important to us to help students have access to those opportunities. So if that's something that your students are interested in, then and cost or finances are a factor, then I want you to really connect with Study Abroad, with IAP, with your career advisors to talk about funding and scholarship opportunities so that that is still an option for you. Another important piece, if students are thinking about looking for an opportunity abroad, is to connect with Study Abroad and IAP early. Depending on the major of choice for your student and what they've declared, there are certain programs where an opportunity at a very specific time of year, whether that be fall or spring or fall of your junior year, for example, is what fits best with timeliness to graduation to also complete course requirements on time.
Great, thank you. I want to now maybe go a little bit deeper on the job search and our time together. And Tara, I'm going to start with you. We've talked a lot about resources that are available. And this question asks, how do students know what resources are available? So I'm maybe going to give you a 2-part question. Could you talk about how students know about career-related resources? So that might be a career fair or other things coming up. And then any tip that you might provide as they prepare for that opportunity.
Yes. So just like many offices on campus, Career Services is constantly trying to figure out what is the best way to communicate with students in order to ensure that they are going to be aware of and knowledgeable about the resources available to them. I will say probably 2 primary ways that we're doing this is, one, our Career Services units might be doing some direct emailing and communication to students, whether that's email, social media, other promotion in the physical spaces that those offices are located. That can be especially helpful for students who are taking classes in a building that maybe their Career Services office exists. Other things that I would just highlight, and this can be helpful for parents and families to know and to nudge their students to do, is that we've talked about Handshake as a platform for job and internship searching. It's also a space where those events are posted, whether those are on-campus events being offered by our Career Services units or by those employers. And so that's something that the more they spend time in Handshake, the more they update their profile and say, hey, this is the kind of opportunity that I'm looking for. Handshake itself will start to encourage them to attend and pay attention to events that feel aligned with those career goals. So Handshake will send specific emails. Employers can actually reach out to students through that Handshake platform, but those Career Services units and their departments might also be encouraging them to attend events or to connect with employers or alumni who are on campus. So we try a multi-pronged approach to ensure that all of our students are aware of the resources we have available to them.
That's great. And I'll add too, it's not comprehensive, but we do try to put event opportunities in the Badger Family newsletter, particularly in our important reminders section. So family members, that might be a place too to keep a look at, and certainly to remind your students about these opportunities as well. We have a live related question coming in, and I want to go to Molly with that question. And then Jamie, I'm going to come to you lastly to kind of wrap up final thoughts about career services, if alumni can access them, or how students can also network as well. But Molly, first, this is a bit of a combination of actually a submitted question and a live question coming in now. If a student decides later in their college career, maybe they're a senior, that they want to switch careers, or maybe they want to go to grad school, Is it too late? What opportunities are available?
I love this question, and I know it can feel so overwhelming to the student and potentially their family, their loved ones, to have a switch at this time. But it's not too late, and it is actually quite normal. There are so many ways that a student is exploring and confirming their interests during undergrad. And a student who discovers that they would like to take a new path or go to graduate school their senior year, they are not only not behind and not too late. I am so happy for them because they have discovered it while they still can access career services at UW-Madison. And they won't continue going down a path that will not lead them to professional fulfillment, right? So that if we discover that we want to go in another direction, that is a win. And the next step is accessing the resources necessary. So it's not too late. The school and college career services units at UW-Madison typically have resources available for a year after graduation. In terms of pre-professional advising, pre-health, and pre-law, we serve alumni no time limit. So it is exceptionally common. In fact, it's common to have students work, gain experience for a year, 2, 3, or more before going on from undergrad into a health professional program or into law school. We know that that is happening. So I think that the university is taking a good look at how can we continue to support alumni early in their careers as they are discovering what they are interested in and the directions that they would like to go in. So it is not too late. There are resources, and it is quite common to decide to go in another direction senior year.
Thank you for normalizing that. And it made me think of sort of no matter what stage we're at, I feel like sometimes our question is, are we too late? And the answer is probably always no. So I thank you for that clarifying point too. We have a few minutes together. So Jamie, I'm going to go to you with a question that we received live about networking, but also just any final thoughts that you have on career services. And then panel, I want to go to each of you finally, just with a closing word or sentence that maybe speaks to one thing that you wish families knew about the career search or about career services in general. So Jamie, we did get a live question about how students might think about networking, either with alumni or professionals. Is there anything else you want students to think about at this time?
Absolutely. I know networking can be kind of a scary word to people, but we have a very loyal, active group of Badger alumni. We actually have 446,000 living UW-Madison alumni across the world who are very willing to give of their time to support students. And so I would say alumni can be a really great starting point, whether it's connecting with them through a tool like LinkedIn. Career services offices can help students create LinkedIn profiles from the moment they get here, get them connected into maybe different LinkedIn groups that exist within different majors or within different fields. And then, I would say that, again, through career services, we will do a lot of preparation, training, and resources. Some units have Canvas sites that students are used to using where it will kind of help them navigate through in an asynchronous way, like how to approach networking, how to think about it, how to prepare for informational interviews with people, getting your resume prepared, things of that nature. So we really try to help all students have access to connections and also to have access to that preparation, whether they've networked in the past or whether they haven't. We want them to feel confident in doing so. Alumni, we try to engage actively in a lot of our different programs. So bringing them into the classrooms to talk about, maybe again, what they do a day in the life in the field that the student is studying about in a particular class. Many of them come back for career fairs. Student organizations are a great way to network with current students who maybe are a couple of steps ahead. And a lot of student organizations that have a connection to a field keep in touch with the alumni in that area. So that's a great way also to build connection points. So it's never too early to start networking. We also encourage students to come in and treat their faculty and staff as a networking connection too. So going to office hours, getting to know that faculty member. Oftentimes they have a lot of great connections from previous work or from the research they're doing in the field. So very much an abundance of opportunities to connect with people. both from the standpoint of learning, from the standpoint of mentorship, and then ultimately to potentially connect into a specific job, internship, or other opportunity.
Yes, Jamie, I feel like that's such a nice place to leave it, because it really is in connecting with one another that we often learn more about ourselves. And sometimes we think about that in a really formal, prescribed way, but that's actually probably not likely where that always happens. And it is in those student organizations and in peer connections and in stopping by office hours and asking a question because you're curious, right? And seeing where that leads. And so I think that's an important point too. Often we want a roadmap for things like this. And in some cases, there are roadmaps related to coursework and career planning. So not to discredit that, but to say too that just being ourselves and being open and curious and interested and making connections, and encourage your student to do that and do that that's in an authentic, true way for them, is often where a lot of that good stuff happens. So thank you for that point, Jamie. We are about out of time, so I'm going to have us wrap up with that final question, which is just a word, a phrase, a sentence that you want folks to take away or you wish folks knew about career services. And I'm going to start with you, Michelle.
You're good.
Yes, you're back, Michelle.
Okay. If I have to pick one thing, I would say try one thing. And if you don't know where to start, and if you don't know what to try, connect to someone, a parent, a trusted friend, a career advisor will help you figure out one step. You'll learn one new thing about yourself and what you want.
Excellent. Tara.
Yeah, I love this. And I was thinking about what I share with parents and families at SOAR, and that is to not underestimate the amount of support that you're providing for your students. We know that students often rely on their family, on their friends for that initial career support. And so I hope that you will think of us as partners in that process, and that when your student seems ready, or maybe even right before they're ready, that you can nudge them to start utilizing the resources available to them here at UW-Madison.
Yes, Tara, we do have that. It's a shared goal of student success. We all have that same goal. Molly, I'll go to you, and Jamie, I'll end with you.
Absolutely. Hopefully one takeaway that you have from today is that we are real human beings who want to support your student. We have teams that we supervise, coworkers all across campus who have a range of great professional experiences and who are committed to you and your students.
Yes. Jamie.
I know career can be a kind of a scary word, or it can seem like something far away, but just to make it a little bit more accessible for students, especially early on, start exploring yourself, exploring what you enjoy, exploring what maybe you're good at, and try to make those dots and connections. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you, the student, kind of realize what's there. And then we will help connect you into lots of resources, experiences to help you make those decisions so you're not alone. And we want students to just be able to be authentically them.
Absolutely. And speaking of not being alone, parents and families, we hope you know you're not alone either. That's why UW-Madison created the Parent and Family Program, to serve as your central resource. And so please do reach out, whether you have a very specific question or you want to follow up on something we said today, or just sort of process, what that might look like for your student. Our office is here for you. You can reach us at parent@uwmad.wis.edu. You can also call us at 608-262-3977, or find more information on our website, parent.wisc.edu. So with that, I just want to thank you all panelists. Thank you for being here. What an expert group we had today. It was really a pleasure to speak with you. Families, thank you for taking the time to both be here and also show up for your student in many ways now and always too. So thanks again, and everyone have a great day on Wisconsin.